Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Don from 1A Auto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And the next time you need a part for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we show you how to remove and reinstall the front lower control arm. We show you the passengers or right-hand side. Driver's side is the same. This is a 2005 Hyundai Elantra. Should be the same for any 2001 to 2006 Elantra. And this is one of those repairs. You can save money and time doing it yourself, but you will need to take your car and have it aligned after you do the repair. And tools you'll need jack and jack stands, 14, 19, and 22 millimeter sockets, ratchet with extensions, and a breaker bar or a pipe for some extra leverage, two 14 millimeter and a 19 millimeter wrench. You could use a 9/16 standard wrench in place of one of the 14 millimeters if you had to, a torque wrench, and a large hammer. Start by removing one of the front wheels, and if you don't have the benefits of air tools, you'll want to start with the vehicle on the ground, loosen the lug nuts, then jack up and secure the vehicle on jack stands and remove the lug nuts, the wheel cover, and wheel and tire.
I'm going to turn the wheel and get a little bit better access for my wrenches. Use 14 millimeter wrenches to hold the backside of the sway bar link, and for the nut, then I'm going to put a wrench in here to help me get a little bit extra leverage. Let's break the nut free.
Okay, and fast forward as we remove that nut the rest of the way.
And I'm going to use my 14 to counter hold, like I did on the top. 14 to break it free.
Okay, and as you can see there, what we do is we put the wrench on and then just hook another wrench onto the end just to give yourself some extra leverage. Helps you break the nut free.
And two nuts free. Pull your sway bar link out. And I've got a 19 millimeter wrench on the nut for the lower ball joint. Use another wrench for leverage. You might have to hold the brake rotor in place. And once you get it broken free, you don't want to lock up your wrench between your axle and the nut, so then you can use your open end to switching it back and forth.
Okay, and we'll just speed up here as we loosen that nut up. You don't want to take it quite all the way off yet.
Try and give a couple whacks to the spindle here to free up the ball joint. You got it. Locate your two 19 millimeter front control arm bolts. I'm going to use my ratchet with a couple extensions to reach the bolt. Then I'm going to break it free. I'm going to use a pipe for extra leverage over my wrench.
And speed it up here again as we just remove those two bolts. You can see use a pipe for some extra leverage to break it free, and then it comes out fairly easily just with your ratchet.
We only need to get this bolt out, but this bracket is not allowing us to get a socket on it, so we're going to loosen up the other 3 bolts for the bracket.
The subframe bolt is a 19 millimeter. I'm just going to loosen it up a little bit. In this case, I'm going to use a pipe for extra leverage. And the other two here are 14 millimeter. My 22 millimeter socket, I'm going to take down the lower control arm bolt. I'm going to remove it completely. And finish removing this nut from the ball joint. And then using a pry bar, pry out the rear mounting the control arm. Reinstalling the control arm, and make sure I put the little piece here on the back side of the front control arm bushing, and I'm going to try and feed the rear bushing in first.
And I'm going to speed up here. What we do is get that rear control arm bushing up in there, feed the bolt up in. You won't be able to put the bolt in all the way, but just feed it up in there so that you know that the rear mount is lined up.
Alright, and I'm insert the ball joint into the spindle. Loosely thread the nut. Start to reinstall control arm bolts.
Okay, use your socket, ratchet, and extensions. Put them on the bolts and basically just kind of lift the bolts up into place, push them in, and get them going. And then you want to just tighten them up preliminarily. Okay, so for that other bolt, use a screwdriver or something, line it up preliminarily, then use a hammer, drive it in place a little bit, and then tighten it up. Okay, and you'll want to torque your two front bolts to between 100 and 110 pounds, and the other bolt to about 130 pounds.
Tightening up ball joint nut.
And I'm going to fast forward. This is just kind of tedious. You can only do it about 1/8 to 1/4 of a turn at a time. Tighten it up with the one wrench, and then hook another wrench onto it. Pull it nice and tight, basically about as tight as you can with those two wrenches.
Installing the link back into the sway bar and to the control arm.
Okay, and nice shot of our elbow there. And what you can see, once you've got it out, it's a pretty easy process to get it back in. You might have to just kind of manipulate the link a little bit to get it to go through the stabilizer bar and the control arm,
but then put the nuts on pretty much hand tight, and then use your two 14mm wrenches. And we actually also used two 14mm wrenches, and you could also use a 14 and a 9/16 if you had to. And you basically want to get them about as tight as you can with a wrench, and then just hook your wrench on and just give it another pull, about a quarter of a turn, using both wrenches. Put the wheel back in place, put the hubcap on, and start your lug nuts. And then you just want to kind of hand start them first to make sure you don't cross the threads. And then once they're hand started, then just kind of preliminarily tighten them up.
And with the car back on the ground, a little bit of pressure on it, or weight on it, I'm going to use the 22 and a torque wrench that I've set to 100 foot-pounds, and torque them to the start panel.
We hope this helps you out. Brought to you by www.oneauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll-free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.